India calls itself the land of Dharma, meaning that which supports righteousness, duty, law, and order. But let's be brutally honest, what kind of Dharma is this where a woman is assaulted every 16 minutes, where mobs lynch people in broad daylight, and where caste still decides whether you're treated as a human being or not? Is this really the spiritual beacon of Hinduism? Or should every other nation unilaterally agree to rename it Sindia instead of India, a country addicted to hypocrisy and hate? Let's not sugarcoat it. India's nationalists love to scream about Hindu pride. They shout, Bharat Mata Ki Jai, and claim their nation is the spiritual center of the universe. But when you strip away the slogans and look at the reality, it's clear India has betrayed the very principles it claims to uphold. Hinduism at its core teaches peace, ahimsa, non-violence. This isn't some vague idea, it's a central tenet that inspired figures like Mahatma Gandhi. Yet, in modern India, violence is celebrated as patriotism. Remember the 2020 Delhi riots? Hindu mobs burned down Muslim homes, mosques, and shops. Over 50 people were killed, many of them beaten or burned alive while police stood by. Some videos even show officers helping the attackers. Is this non-violence? Is this ahimsa? Or is this raw hatred dressed up as nationalism? And this isn't new. Let's rewind to 2002, Gujarat. Over 1,000 people, mostly Muslims, were slaughtered in riots that many believe were encouraged by state leaders. Women were raped and burned alive. Hindu extremists paraded through streets with swords and gasoline. And where was Narendra Modi back then? He was Gujarat's chief minister. Many still accuse him of turning a blind eye, or worse. The courts may have cleared him, but the stench of complicity remains. How can people who claim to be followers of an ancient religion of peace and karmic duty, who wouldn't dare harm the hair on a cow's head, commit such brutal acts of violence against their fellow humans? Absolutely disgusting. Now let's talk about the concept of karma, the idea that your actions shape your destiny. It teaches that good deeds lead to spiritual progress while evil brings suffering. If India truly believed in karma, wouldn't its leaders and citizens act with integrity? Instead, corruption is everywhere, from politicians looting public funds to police extorting the poor. India ranks 93rd out of 180 countries on Transparency International's Corruption Index. That's not spiritual progress, that's moral decay. And I won't even mention the suffering caused by lynch mobs and rape gangs. Not even animals are safe. Remember the vile story of the lizard getting sexually assaulted by Indian men? Sickening. What about Dharma, the idea of duty, righteousness, and ethical living? Hindu philosophy says you must do your duty selflessly, yet India fails its most basic duties to its citizens. Hundreds of millions still lack clean drinking water and access to working toilets. The roads are so dusty and broken that even cows prefer to take the sidewalk. Trains are extremely crowded, filthy, and downright dangerous. The Ganges, the holiest river in Hinduism, is a toxic sewer choked with plastic and human waste. Pilgrims bathe in it, thinking it's sacred, but scientists warn the water carries deadly bacteria. Even as India sends rockets to the moon, over 190 million Indians go to bed hungry every night. Is this Dharma, or is it hypocrisy on a national scale? And don't forget moksha, liberation from the cycle of suffering and ignorance. But India seems trapped in an endless cycle of hatred, discrimination, and violence. Dalits, formerly known as untouchables, are still lynched for drinking from upper caste wells or entering temples. LGBTQ+ people are still beaten and harassed despite legal protections. Even interfaith couples risk their lives if they dare to love outside their religion. This is not a country seeking enlightenment. This is a country deep in spiritual darkness. And let's talk about history for a moment. During the partition in 1947, as India was born, millions were massacred in religious riots. Trains full of mutilated bodies crossed borders. Women were kidnapped and raped by the thousands. This was not some foreign invasion. It was Hindus slaughtering the minority Muslim and Sikh populations, all in the name of religion. That blood-soaked beginning still echoes today in lynchings over beef, attacks on churches, and anti-Muslim pogroms. It gets worse when you see how India's government fuels this hypocrisy. Leaders who claim to be protectors of Hindu culture openly incite violence. Take Yogi Adityanath, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. He calls for revenge against minorities and supports laws that target Muslims for so-called love jihad. Meanwhile, mobs feel emboldened to beat Muslim men to death for allegedly eating beef, all in the name of protecting cows. Cows have more rights than women or minorities in India. And let's talk about women. Hindu texts like the Rig Veda describe women as powerful and divine. The goddess Durga symbolizes strength. Shakti represents creative energy. Hinduism has more female goddesses than male gods. Yet in today's India, women are treated as disposable objects. Gang rapes dominate headlines, and victims are blamed more often than the perpetrators. Remember the Hathras case in 2020? A young Dalit woman was brutally raped and murdered, her body cremated by police in the dead of night without her family's consent. Where was the so-called Hindu moral outrage then? Silent. Because caste and gender still determine whose lives matter. And don't get me started on how they treat female tourists. We all remember the Brazilian lady who was gang raped while her boyfriend was assaulted. And that's just a single statistic out of millions. Even the economy reflects this hypocrisy. Nationalists talk about India as a Vishwa Guru, a teacher to the world. Yet India ranks among the lowest in the world for human development. Hunger, poverty, and illiteracy are rampant. If India was really following Hindu ideals of seva, selfless service, wouldn't its billionaires be building hospitals and schools instead of constructing statues and luxury towers? It truly seems like a capitalist hellhole, where the wealthy and powerful quite literally tower over the poor in the slums. I'm sure you've seen the contrast of Mumbai, the financial capital of India, which netizens love to brag and boast about. Skyscrapers right next to slums and sewage. Here's another contradiction. Hinduism teaches that the soul, or Atman, is universal, that all life is sacred. But how can a country that claims to be spiritual allow mobs to burn Muslims alive or Dalit children to be flogged for drinking water from the wrong well? How can a nation that worships animals abuse them so openly? From starving stray dogs to elephants beaten in temples for tourist photos to abusing goats and lizards? The truth is, modern India has weaponized Hinduism. Instead of using it as a path to self-realization, it's become a political tool to divide and rule. It's not about peace or enlightenment, it's about control, power, and vengeance. The WhatsApp religion has infected the minds of millions of illiterate and uneducated Indians. Cheap internet is the new religion, and Modi and Palki are the new god and goddess. So the next time someone calls India the land of gurus and sages, ask them, is this the land of ahimsa or lynch mobs? Is this the land of dharma or systemic injustice? Is this the land of karma or corruption and greed? The answer is painfully clear. India has lost its soul. It's time to stop pretending and call it what it is, Sindia. If you want more honest takes like this, then hit that subscribe button. Let's keep questioning the hypocrisy together. Thanks for watching.